Okay, this is an interview with Derek Simpson, artistic consultant and agent for Duffys Circus. So the main question then is, this is all about sounds associated with the circus, and you've been involved. You haven't always been with Duffys, have you?
No, I first of all was very friendly with Fawcett's, and they would have had a small circus band, basically organ and drums, and there was a woman from actually Newton Ards Road in Bangor, Iris Tate, who was long time with them as their organist, and they had a drummer called Leonard, and on occasions Bart, who was known as the one-lung trumpeter, which must be a great qualification for a trumpeter. Then in the 70s, a small circus started in Northern Ireland, run by a man called Jim Beck, and he asked me to go there and do some juggling and what have you, because he couldn't get any acts, and we used to work at all the wonderful places like Craigie Flats and Beaver Park and everywhere all around Belfast, and housing estates other circuses didn't go to. And Jim Beck always had a sort of cigarette stuck in his mouth and played the organ, and I remember doing the juggling, and any sort of dramatic parts you had to suffer him doing a drum roll with a pressed a button and you got a drum roll. And then sometimes, like I remember in Bangor, the organ packed in, and I was sent down to town to get a couple of cassette tapes of James Last, which would be played continually through the show without any consideration of who was there or what they were doing. And then when I came back, I was really pleased to have got these two James Last tapes. Came in, Jim put them on, and then effed me from a height because there was singing on them, and I'm not having singing in my circus. It's meant to be music. And then he just would, it just went on like that. Duffys had a circus band, and everybody in Duffys played a musical instrument: trumpet, saxophone, drums, everything. They played everything, and they had a bandstand, and the seven brothers would be up on the bandstand playing various instruments, and as the acts progressed, they came down, and say the first act was Billy. Well, Billy played the trombone was set down, Billy came out from the back and got on the horse and rode round, and then went back up again and played in the band while Tommy showed the ponies, and it just went on like that, and there was sort of, this band just kept constantly changing. And then all the children would have been taught instruments from an early age, and nowadays I'm quite friendly with two of the younger generation who are session musicians and tour extensively with all the top bands. There's Keith and Jason, and they were with the Corrs for many years, and then they moved on to Ronan Keating and Boyzone and various other tours. And then there's a cousin Paul who went to America. Sorry, I'll go back. He was a very good sax player and singer, and he went to England, and one of the early talent competitions on TV, New Faces, which had like 15 million viewers on a Saturday night, he won that as a sax player and singer, and was offered to go into Roxy Music by Brian Ferry, and didn't do it. And because he had no agent at the time, because things weren't in the sort of Simon Cowell era where you were guaranteed $1 million having won that, he just sort of disappeared and brought out a CD of Danny Boy and various things, which you could have got at $2.99 in various shops. And then he went to America and is still there. I worked in, I think, MGM Studios and Universal Studios over there, playing in Irish pubs and what have you.
Yeah.
But
there's no band anymore, is there? In Duffys?
No, the circus stopped having bands in, I think, the sort of 80s and 90s, and went on to having most shocking bad, TV's 20 greatest themes, and the horses always worked to Dallas, and just for a change it maybe became Knots Landing for 1 year and then went back to being Dallas again, but and was worked from a wasn't even recorded, so it would be the length of the act. It was just the needle went back to the start of the record again, just big scratch, and then you go on again. And it was just Z cars or something really bad from the television in those days. Yeah. And then I remember about 7 or 8 years ago, I got a DVD through the post of a Ukrainian circus band looking for work, and they were fantastic, and they came and they were there for quite a few years until the Celtic Tiger went wallop and decided to cut back, and that's only about the past 2 years, and they cut back to having a drummer, because you can't really have effects in acts without having a drummer. The drummer drums along to recorded music, which is now selected from the internet and linked together quite well, that you wouldn't know it was just put together in a caravan.
Yeah. Right, okay, so because Tom Duffy also said that about cutbacks, and he it's funny because he's not so keen on the backing music today. Or then you speak to Rodney, who's a fan, he thinks it's better than the circus has ever been because it's very effective.
Well, you can also get some very good CDs of music from foreign circuses, like the German circuses and the French circuses all produce each year a CD of their own music. Yeah. And there's ones from Monte Carlo. There's even the Monte Carlo March, which is played at the Circus Festival every year, and a lot of circuses use that.
Yeah.
The Circus Krone March, recorded in Munich every year with a Philharmonic Orchestra.
Yeah.
So the sound and with good speakers and good lighting effects, you don't really notice the lack of a band.
Yeah, true.
The problem with the band is if you've got 5 or 6 men, you have to have accommodation for 5 or 6 men, and that all sort of eats into the budget.
Yeah.
Although the band or orchestra, as they'd be called in Europe, because some of those circuses would have 12 people, and they were always like classically trained Polish, Ukrainian or Moldovan musicians, and they would have also a specific job that they would be responsible for the packing down of the bandstand that they worked on, and that would be their specific job.
Right. So it's the music side's a luxury that you can maybe do without in times like this.
You can just take 6 people off the wage bill like that.
Yeah.
And it saves several £1,000s.
Yeah.
Instantly.
Well, if you've been connected to various different circuses, and whether it be building on a site, which you do at the moment, or going to dodgy housing estates throughout Belfast or wherever you've been, because a big part of this is a thing called extra musical awareness, which is, are there any sounds you would associate with your life in the circus that don't come from within the big tent? And that can be from any realm of your involvement with the circus, in any part of your life, because it's because I don't have that many, to be honest.
Well, I think as a child, you always associated what was called the speeding van with the circus being in town, and that was a bit like what you would have nowadays for electioneers going round telling you to vote for the DUP or whatever. And it still happens to this day that Tommy Duffy will, in his 80s, go in the Jeep every day, drive around the town and say, in town today, 2 performances at 4:30 and 7:30, and see you at the circus, blah 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 blah. And that is a sound you really don't get from anything else. There's nobody else goes around advertising like that. And sort of out of the blue, all of a sudden a car's going along the road telling you to go to the circus, and that's quite an interesting sound that you don't associate with other things apart from electioneering on occasions.
That's a good one.
I can't really think of anything else apart from maybe you'd go to the circus and you would hear the men putting the stakes in, and the bashing of all that, and the revving of lorries and lorries being towed in and out of grounds, and
Do certain sites bring their own specific environment? Then do you find yourself generally in the same type of place in each town, or I mean, because in Dundonald that night we had the sound of the car park and the busyness of the restaurants is something I got on tape. Does that obviously varies, does it, depending where you go?
Well, it varies very much. There's traditionally the circus would have been on a farmer's field, and more so than a sound, you would have got the smell of cut grass, or grass that had been trampled down by people tramping over it for the first time that year, and you then you get what's called a hard ground, which the circus prefers to have at the early part of the year and at the end of the year, because you're not in mud up to your ankles all the time. In those grounds the sounds will be different, because they're generally car parks or piece of waste ground, or in the south of Ireland there's a whole run of them right beside auction marts for cattle. Country towns will have an auction mart where you might have the sound of cattle, in pens being sold beside the tent. And the people coming in and queuing up, and people queuing, the buzz of people going up the steps, and now you've got like sort of aluminium steps to go up and checker plate. People walk over and ask for their tickets, and that is a sound. You just have to stand at the ticket office to see how completely deaf and blind people are when they come to the circus, because they always go, "How much is it?" When there's a big sign right in front of them showing exactly what the prices are for everybody, the discounts, where they sit, and then they say, because if they haven't planned this days ahead, they'll always say, "Where will we sit?" And there's a choice of 3 places, 3 prices, and there's a whole discussion with that, and then they take their tickets and thank you very much. And tickets are now not just torn off a roll; they come out of a machine, a Ticketmaster
Do you
style.
still design tickets then?
No, you don't really design tickets anymore.
No.
You'd only design vouchers, which would give you a discount, but the tickets are all these exactly the same as you get if you were going to the Odyssey to see a show.
Right.
They'll come out in triplicate.
Okay, well that is a wealth of sounds. The only other one I can think of then would be, because it seems in Ireland, in England there seem to be less animals involved in shows even than Ireland, but are you finding in terms of the sounds of animals you would have had, or is that less and less? I mean, obviously you've still got your lions and llamas and all that sort of stuff, but are there animals that you'll never have again? In Duffys, for example? Elephants, for example?
Not have elephants again. Not because we don't want to have elephants, it's because of the cost involved. Elephants involve having to hire skips on a daily basis, which can cost over £100 a time. When you take in the price of the elephant and all the feed and the carrots and the hay and everything, it adds up. You get the sounds of things like lions roaring that, in the middle of a housing estate that people might find quite odd. Open their curtains and, look out and see a llama munching at your hedge. Things like that. But I remember one time I was with a circus in England, and we had a delivery for the hot dog stand every morning at about 7 o'clock, and the man brought all these bread rolls, and all of a sudden he didn't come back, and I ended up going down to the bakery and saying, "Look, we were expecting to deliver the rolls for the hamburgers and hot dogs. What happened?" "Oh, he said this morning, he said it was quite dark, he said, and I came up to the tent, and the arrangement was, because nobody was up at that time he was delivering, that he opened the canvas flap, went into the tent and set them on the seats, and he said, well, just as I opened the flap, this lion roared And they said, scared the life out of me. He said that I got threw the rolls into the seats, and they said I got in the car and drove away. And it was just, that was a sound that terrified that man, because he thought there was a lion on the loose. It was that close to him, the noise. There's a sound that man will forget for a long time.
I should track him down and interview him. The demographic, the age demographic in circus, and even the class demographic seems to be very mixed. I mean, you really get, because I thought at first that I would be getting the sounds of children especially, but actually it's not true. It's all age groups, isn't it? You seem to appeal to everybody.
It's all age groups, and a strange thing has happened in the past few years with immigrant population coming in. People from Poland and Russia and Romania have a history at home of going to the circus, and I know David Duffy said to me, if it wasn't for these people being in Ireland now, some of the shows you would have very few people at. For example, on a Sunday, you would never get this locally. You wouldn't get 8 or 10 men going to the circus together. And they are the people who are now making up good numbers. And they're used to going and enjoying the circus as a very much a tradition of their homeland.
In terms of foreign languages, because I've got recordings of the tent being built in lots of different accents and different languages communicating all at the same time in different areas of the field. So is there, whenever the poles were going in, there was a sort of chant going on amongst the men to get it done. Is English a common language, or do some of them not get that far? How do you?
Well, the common language of the circus was always German. And you had some purists who felt that horses and all animals had to be taught in German.
Right.
Which was a load of rubbish, really. You could say, Fawcett's Circus, who travel in Ireland still to this day, would, instead of saying place to a horse, would say on plats.
Right, okay.
And they would feel very smart about doing that, because that was very clever that, we're talking to a horse in German. And it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter. But it was a traditional way, and there were traditional methods, so people followed that and used the foreign languages. Most people have a splattering of English, but I've seen foreign acts coming to the circus and getting by for the entire year without having any English. Like, I know the Chinese that we have at the moment, 3 of them speak English to a degree, where the others don't say anything apart from hello. But having said that, 2 of the girls sell light up novelties and very quickly can say €5 or £5. Thank you, how much. And they learn the basics, and then they just go out and mingle with the people and get on with it.
Pick it up.
And people will come up and yak away in English to some Chinese girl about, have you got any other colours of that? Blah, 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 blah. And the girl won't know what she's talking about. But the deal will be done eventually without any problem.
That's fascinating. Those seem to be the big ones, is foreign communication and animals, actually.
Foreign communication is a good one with children at the circus, because some people will arrive from, Poland, say, with a little 2-year-old, 3-year-old child, and there'll be some other small children on the circus, and those children will play quite happily all year long and very quickly learn each other's languages. And not being taught them, just through
you become
sitting talking to this kid, they will be able to play and talk to each other where the adults can't.
It's a good one. So you're developing by multilingual children, basically.
Just language skills just coming naturally.
I think that is all I need. I think that's brilliant. Thanks very much, Derek, for your time. Much appreciated. Derek hasn't finished yet.
I haven't finished. So I was going to say that I used to do juggling, and people used to think this was a great laugh. And they used to come up to you and be smart and go dee 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 dee. So obviously there's a built-in circus music reel in everybody's head that associates, the entry of the gladiators with the circus, so they can just reel that off. That if you played in the dark to somebody that would know it was a circus.
Yeah.
So that is something that people recognise and accept.